Heineman again here. Today we're going to do fractions to decimals. We're going to talk about doing fractions to decimals. We're going to talk about two different ways to kind of do that. There's a way that we use equivalent fractions, and then there's another way we use dividing. Okay, I'm going to start by doing a review of decimals. We have place values with our decimals. Okay, we have place values with our decimals. We have tenths, we have hundredths, and we have thousandths. Now, of course, we have 10,000ths, 100,000ths, so on and so forth. But we're only going to worry about these three here today. Okay, tenths, thousandths. So tenth, that's the same thing as having a denominator of 10. Okay, so 1/10. Hundredth would be the same as having a denominator of 100. And then, of course, thousandths would be the same, where we have a denominator of 1,000. So if I can take a fraction and I can go ahead and put it and make an equivalent fraction with 10, 100, or 1,000 as my denominator, then I can probably pretty easily make that into a decimal. Okay, so here's the example I'm going to try work for you guys the first time through. Okay, the first one I'm going to do is 41 50ths. Okay, 41 50ths. Now let's say that I want to go ahead and I want to turn that into a decimal. Okay, well, first I'm going to look at my denominator and I'm going to look at 50. I'm going to ask myself, hey, can I turn 50 into 100? And I go ahead and I'm like, you know what? I can turn 50 into 100 because I know that 50 times 2 is 100. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go 10. I'm not ever going to go less than this. Okay? I don't really want to divide this by 5 because, well, you'll see why we don't. You'll see why we don't want to divide it by 5, okay? Because it's going to be harder for us to go ahead and put it in there, okay? But it still would work, all right? But let's always try to multiply to the higher place value. So 50, I want to go ahead and I want to turn that into 100. I say, oh yeah, I can turn that into 100 by doing times 2. 50 times 2 is 100, okay? Now, we also know that for equivalent fractions, whatever I do on the bottom, I have to do on the top. So I am going to multiply by 2 up there. 41 times 2 is 82. So my equivalent fraction with 100 in the denominator is 82 hundredths. So that's easy. Now I have 0.82 hundredths. Okay, so we could say 41 50ths is the same as 0.82 or 0 and 82 hundredths. Okay? All right. So let's go on to another example. Okay? 2 fifths. And I'm going to erase here 2. 2 fifths. All right. Can I go ahead and can I turn this 2 fifths into a 10, 100, or 1,000? Okay, I actually could turn it into any of those. Okay, I'm going to go ahead, though I'm not going to go to, I could go to 10. Okay, all right, I'm going to go to 10 because I can just do times 2, right? 5 times 2 gives me 10. 2 times 2 gives me 4. I have 4 tenths. Okay. Now let's say that I went ahead and I did say, okay, I want to take that 2 fifths to 100. Okay, so if I want to take that 2 fifths to 100, what I'm doing is I'm multiplying by 20, which is going to give me 40 100ths, which would be the same here, right? Because this would be, we always know there's an invisible 0, 40 hundredths. So 2/5 is the same as 0.4. Okay, so boom, boom, boom. All right. Okay, so here we go. So let's say I don't have a number that can go ahead and make 100, give me a denominator of 10, 100, or 1,000 easily. Okay. For example, let's say I have a fraction like 2/4 or 2/8. 2/8. Okay. 2/8. And I want to go ahead and turn that into a decimal. All right. Well, I can still do it even though I can't, even though 8 doesn't turn into 100 nicely. Okay. So what do? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide, because remember, that fraction bar is the same thing as a division sign. So this could also say 2 divided by 8. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, long division wise. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 goes in the cage, 8 goes out of the cage. Okay, 8 goes into 2 0 times. I'm going to put my decimal here and I'm going to move it up. Remember, there's always an invisible decimal behind a whole number. And I'm going to add my 0 back here. Okay, and I'm going to say, okay, 8 goes into 20 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. 20 minus 16 gives me 4. I'm going to bring down my 0, because remember, there's another invisible 0. Bring that down. 8 goes into 40. 5 times 8 is 40. I have a remainder of 0. So I'm done. So 2/8 is the same as 0 and 25 hundredths. Okay. So there's another way of going ahead and do it. And of course, these are easy numbers to work with, but that's going to work with any numbers. Okay, long division. Even if you end up with repeating decimals. Okay, so we could get 1.6666, and then you'll realize, oh, hey, this is just going to repeat itself, and you would stop there. Okay, so yeah, so if there's any other questions for me or Mr. Elephant here, go ahead and leave them in the comment box, and I'll see you next time.